I thought nothing was worse than betrayal. Then I met the man who offered to rewrite my life, and he turned out to be a demon. I caught them because I forgot the sauce. That's the kind of detail that sticks. I was balancing pizza boxes and a half-warm bottle of cheap Pinot when I pushed open my bedroom door and found Mark, my boyfriend, and my best friend knotted in sheets I'd ironed that morning. Her nail polish matched the duvet. His apology voice sounded like the elevator ding that had always annoyed me. Too bright, too late. Eliza, this isn't... It isn't? My face went numb, the way you can't feel your cheek after the dentist. Oh good. Because from here it looks surprisingly... complete. He fumbled. She hid her face. I set the pizza on the floor because my hands were shaking and grease on hardwood is easier than forgiveness. I bought your favorite, I said. Jalapeno and mushroom. It pairs well with betrayal. I left before either of us could say something unforgivable. The hallway smelled like damp carpet and someone's incense. I took the stairs because the elevator felt like it would pity me. Outside, the city kept breathing. Horns, rain, the electric hiss of everything moving on without me. By the time I reached my building's roof, the Pinot was open and the rain had made my hair stick to my temples. The skyline looked like a heartbeat on a monitor, steady, indifferent. I leaned against the low wall, took a mouthful, and waited for my chest to stop trying to escape my ribs. I wanted a dramatic scream or a poetic cry. Instead, I laughed, short and ugly, because of course it was me. Of course I was the idiot with a loyalty punch card. Rough night? The voice came from the edge of the roof, where the safety sign rusted and pigeons left their opinions. A man stood there like the rain belonged to him. Black coat, black shirt, black tie loosened just enough to say he cared and didn't. His hair looked like he'd paid for it and then apologized to it. And his eyes were gold. Not hazel, not amber. Gold. Like a coin you're not supposed to touch. If you're here to sell me a timeshare, I said, your timing is exceptional. Timeshares are a hell I didn't invent, he said, amused. His voice curled around the words. But no, I'm here to offer you a better night. A better life. If we're grading on a curve... I blinked. Are you a mugger with brand vision? He stepped closer, not enough to crowd me, just enough to make the rain bead on his shoulders like stage lighting. I'm Kai. Let's call me a specialist. I show up when someone whispers something desperate into the dark. You whispered, I had, apparently. In the stairwell, somewhere between insult and sob, I'd said it out loud. I wish I could start over. And you, specialize in new beginnings? I asked. Sarcasm is my life raft. He smiled like I was his favorite channel. I specialize in wishes, second chances, course corrections. The small art of rearranging what people insist is fate. You're saying you're, what, a genie? Close. He tilted his head. A demon. Of desires. I should have laughed him off the roof. I should have called security. Instead, I watched rain slide down his cheek like it was choreographed, and felt a prickle. At the base of my throat, some animal instinct deciding whether to run or bow. What's the catch? I said because even in heartbreak I'm not stupid. Always business. He sounded delighted. No soul-grabbing. You keep that. I'm old-fashioned, not cliché. There's a contract, there's a mark, there are rules. You get your second chance. Clean slate, rewind button, pick your metaphor. In return, I get access to moments, he said softly. Permission. When you decide, when you choose me. The gold in his eyes flickered, like a coin tossed and caught. I feed on what humans make too complicated to name. Desire, fear, relief. You'd be surprised how nutritious relief is. So you're a parasite with good hair, and you're a woman who just watched her life fall through a hole in the floor. He said, not unkindly. Midnight is in 3 minutes. You can go downstairs and rehearse forgiveness for a man who won't know what to do with it. Or you can take the harder door. The harder door leads to... Not this version of you, he said. The one who doesn't keep setting herself on fire to keep other people warm. The rain went from steady to insistent, tapping out seconds on the concrete. My mouth tasted like a terrible vineyard and a worse decision. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Mark, probably. I didn't look. What does the mark look like? I asked. He held out his hand. His skin was warm, rain matte, and impossible. On you? Beautiful, he said. Everything looks beautiful on you. That line would have worked better 20 minutes ago, I muttered, and put my hand in his. The world didn't explode. There was no thunderclap, no Latin chorus. Just warmth blooming under my collarbone, like someone pressed a lit coin there and it melted into me. I gasped and nearly swore. He squeezed my fingers once, steadying. I pulled my hand back and glanced down. Through the wet fabric I saw it, a faint silver sigil, a circle braided with a line, pulsing once and fading to a whisper. Not a brand, a promise, or a threat. Hard to tell in the rain. What did you just do to me? My voice came out smaller than I wanted. Gave you tomorrow, he said. It will look a lot like yesterday, until it doesn't. That's not helpful. You'll notice, he said. Doors open, doors close. Some you've never seen will appear. Try not to run headfirst through all of them. He adjusted his cuffs, the picture of a man late for a meeting with fate. Also, don't look into mirrors for too long. They get jealous. I snorted, a sound that felt like a rebellion. Is that a demon joke? It's a safety warning. He stepped back toward the roof's edge, and the air around him seemed to tilt. One more thing, Eliza. How do you... I listen, he said. Try it sometime. Midnight. Somewhere below, a church bell, one of those grand old ones, counted 12. The 12th chime shivered through me, rattling against the new shape under my skin. When I looked up, Kai was gone. The rain was ordinary again. The city kept breathing. My phone buzzed. Mark, where are you? We should talk. I typed. We won't. Then I tucked the bottle under my arm, pressed my palm over the warm, quiet mark, at my collarbone, and went downstairs to meet a life I didn't recognize yet. I woke up to sunlight. Not the thin, apologetic kind my apartment usually allowed in, but warm, golden. Stripes crawling across my bed like I'd accidentally booked a vacation. For a moment, I thought it was Saturday. Then I realized 3 things at once. The mirror over my dresser showed me a version of myself that had slept 8 hours for the first time since college. She looked smug. I hated her a little. Morning sunshine. I jumped. Kai leaned against the window, arms crossed, like he'd been waiting there since the invention of glass. His coat looked dry despite the rain still dripping from the fire escape. Do you live here now? I snapped. Technically, I live everywhere inconvenient, he said. It's part of the job description. His eyes flicked over me. You look better than yesterday. Or was that technically tomorrow? Human timelines confuse me. I stared. So it wasn't wine hallucinations. He tilted his head. The mark's real. Second chance activated. Congratulations. I grabbed a hoodie from the chair. What's the fine print? You said rules. Rule 1, he said, watching me like I was the most interesting channel on TV. The mark responds to desire. Little ones, big ones. Every time you want something badly enough, it grows. Grow how? Visibility, power, attention. He grinned slowly. Everything hungry in my world will feel it. I froze halfway through tying my sneakers. You skipped that part last night. You were busy glaring at me, he said, unbothered. Anyway, you wanted a new life. You have one. Try not to break it immediately. I didn't get the chance to argue because my lamp flickered, sputtered, and died. The coffee maker groaned like it had final words, and then gave up completely. I looked at the ceiling. Was that... The mark, Kai said. It doesn't like appliances. Or maybe appliances don't like it. Hard to tell. By the time I left for work, my nerves felt like wet matches. The city looked the same. Traffic, gray buildings, the smell of hot pretzels from the corner. Cart. But people's eyes slid over me strangely, like they caught a shadow behind my shoulder. At the office, the air conditioner was broken. My computer restarted twice without permission. Someone's yogurt exploded in the fridge the moment I opened it. I was debating whether to set the whole building on fire when the elevator doors opened and he walked in. Tall, dark hair, gray suit that fit too well to be off the rack. Eyes like someone who could find you in a crowd and decide whether you were worth saving. New hire? His voice was even, but there was something under it, like steel wrapped in velvet. Eliza Moore, I said, trying to sound like a person whose coffee hadn't just committed suicide. Liam Rivers, he said. Interim director. He shook my hand. His grip was firm, professional. His eyes, though, paused on my collarbone where the mark burned faintly under my shirt like it knew it was being stared at. Everything all right here? He asked. It didn't sound like small talk. Perfect, I lied. He studied me one heartbeat too long before nodding and walking away, leaving, behind the faint smell of rain and questions I didn't want to answer. Kai appeared in the break room like he owned the place, eating someone's donut. New boss looks at you like you're a puzzle, he said, powdered sugar on his sleeve. Go away, I hissed. Can't mark duty. He leaned close enough that I could feel the warmth off him. Careful with him, sunshine. Hunters usually smile before they shoot. I spun. Hunters? Kai's grin was sharp enough to cut glass. Didn't I mention? My mistake. And just like that, the lights flickered again. By the time my lunch break rolled around, the rain had turned the whole block into a watercolor painting left out in the sink. I ducked into the first cafe I saw with working lights and the smell of coffee strong enough to resuscitate me. I'd barely wrapped my hands around the mug when the chair across from me scraped back. Ms. Moore. Liam Rivers sat down like a man who didn't ask permission because he didn't need to. Same gray suit, same storm-colored eyes. The kind of man you'd expect to carry a briefcase in one hand and a weapon in the other. Mr. Rivers, I said. Did you need the Wi-Fi password, or is this about the exploding yogurt? His mouth almost twitched. Almost. It's about you. I took a sip of coffee. Oh good, my favorite topic. He leaned forward slightly, elbows on the table. You had unusual company this morning. I froze halfway to another sip. Meaning. Tall. Dark. Looks like trouble in a tailored coat. Before I could answer, the door chimed behind me. Well, speak of the devil, Kai said, because of course he did. He strolled in like the rain parted for him personally, shaking droplets off his coat before dropping into the third seat at our table. Liam Rivers, Kai said smoothly. Still brooding professionally, I see. Still stealing things that aren't yours, Liam replied. Voice flat as asphalt. The air between them went sharp enough to cut bread. I looked from one to the other. Oh, fantastic. You know each other. Should I order popcorn? Kai smirked at me, lazy and infuriating. The hunter and I go way back. Don't we, Liam? Liam's eyes stayed on me, steady as a rifle sight. Demons never give anything for free, Ms. Moore. Whatever he offered you, whatever you think you got, he'll take twice as much back. I opened my mouth, closed it, tried again. It's not like that. It's always like that, Liam said. No heat in his voice, just certainty, like gravity explaining itself. Kai stretched his legs under the table, perfectly relaxed. He hates that you made a deal without asking his permission. Hunters like control. It makes them feel tall. I am tall, Liam said dryly. Some people climb mountains too, Kai murmured. Doesn't mean the view's worth it. Could you two not? I said sharply. My headache had started building somewhere behind my left eye. One of you sounds like a disappointed school principal, the other like a Bond villain on Casual Friday. I don't need the duet. Liam finally looked at Kai, expression carved out of stone. She doesn't know what you are. She knows enough, Kai said lightly. I know, I cut in, louder than I meant to. Both men glanced at me. I know I'm fine. I know my life is finally different, and I know I'm not scared of either of you. That was almost true. Liam studied me for a long moment, then stood. Rain streaked the window behind him like scratches. Different doesn't always mean better, he said. When it starts falling apart, and it will, don't say nobody warned you. He left without waiting for an answer. Kai watched him go, then stole a sip of my coffee. Hunters, he said, shaking his head. So dramatic. I snatched the cup back. He thinks you're the villain here. Oh, darling, Kai said, smiling like sin itself. I am the villain. I'm just the one on your side. That night, lying awake in my apartment while the mark under my collarbone pulsed softly like a second heartbeat, I told myself Liam was wrong, that I was still in control, even as the lights flickered again. By Monday morning, I'd convinced myself Liam was wrong and Kai was, well, Kai, a walking red flag with cheekbones. The mark under my collarbone still pulsed faintly, but I ignored it the way you ignore a car alarm on someone else's street. I was too busy wanting things. Specifically, the marketing tender that would catapult me out of the cubicle farm and into an office with actual walls. Our department had been fighting over it for weeks. Whoever landed it got a promotion, a pay bump, and probably fewer emails starting with "per my last message." As the meeting dragged on, I stared at the proposal folder in front of me and thought, I just want this one thing. No candles, no chanting, just want. By lunch, the news came in, we got the contract. Or rather, I did. My name was all over the client email, CC'd to people I didn't even know existed. People congratulated me in the break room with smiles too sharp to be friendly. My boss shook my hand. Even the intern looked impressed. Then David stormed in. Are you kidding me? He slammed a folder on the table. His tie was crooked. His face was red. You threw me under the bus. I blinked. What? They said the numbers on my report were wrong. David snapped. The client blamed me for the delay, because apparently your version was the corrected one. I didn't save it. He grabbed his folder and left, shoulders stiff enough to snap. The room went quiet. Someone coughed. Someone else whispered. And just like that, my reputation went from team player to backstabber with good hair. Kai appeared in my office doorway around 3, peeling an orange like he had nowhere else to be. Congratulations, sunshine, he said. First wish granted. I threw a paper clip at him. You didn't say someone else would take the hit? He leaned against the doorframe, biting into a slice. You didn't specify terms. Wishes are like contracts. Details matter. You rigged it, I hissed. Kai shrugged. I delivered exactly what you asked for. Human ambition does the rest. The mark under my collarbone throbbed then, hard enough to make me wince. I tugged my collar up instinctively. Kai's eyes flicked there. Ah. Growing nicely. That's not funny. Wasn't a joke, he said. The stronger your desires, the brighter it burns. Think of it as advertising. For what? His smile didn't reach his eyes. You'll see. I saw it that night. The city was half drowned in rain when I left work, streetlights humming like nervous teeth. I cut through the alley behind my building, because it was faster and because my umbrella had already given up the will to live. That's when I felt it. Like someone watching. Close. The shadows along the brick walls seemed too thick, clinging to the corners like wet paper. Then they moved. I froze. 2 shapes peeled away from the darkness. Tall, thin, with eyes the color of hot coals buried deep. Their outlines flickered, not solid, like they were deciding whether to exist. One of them sniffed the air. Its neck creaked like old wood. Oh, hell no, I whispered. They turned toward me. The mark under my collarbone burned like a brand. Then Kai was there, stepping out of the rain with all the urgency of someone arriving late to a dinner party. He didn't look at me. His eyes locked on the creatures. And for the first time since I met him, he wasn't smiling. This is early, he muttered. What are they? My voice cracked. Collectors, he said softly. Drawn to power. Or the promise of it. One of the creatures hissed. The sound skittered along my spine like a centipede. Kai flicked his hand. A line of fire cracked across the wet pavement, bright and fast. The creatures recoiled, then melted back into the shadows like film running backward. The fire vanished. The rain kept falling. Kai turned to me, expression unreadable. Told you. Advertising. I stared at him, shaking, water dripping from my hair into my eyes. What happens when more come? He stepped closer, brushing a strand of wet hair from my face like we weren't standing in a murder alley. Then he said, voice low, You'll really need me. That night, in my apartment with the lights flickering like nervous eyelids, I pressed my palm against the mark and told myself I still had control. The mark pulsed once, warm and hungry. I wasn't sure I believed myself anymore. Kai's loft looked like someone had bribed a cathedral to sin a little. High ceilings, dark wood, too many mirrors, all of them catching candlelight like the room wanted to flirt with itself. The rain outside smeared the windows with silver streaks. I didn't remember walking here. 1 minute I was in my apartment, pacing with anger still sharp in my chest, the next. I was standing in his doorway because apparently my worst decisions had good GPS. He leaned against the piano, casual as gravity. You came, he said softly, like it wasn't obvious. You didn't tell me the mark would paint a target on my back, I snapped. You didn't ask, he said, shrugging out of his coat. Candlelight painted his shoulders gold. Besides, it looks good on you. I wanted to slap him. I wanted to kiss him. I wanted to stop wanting anything at all, because every desire felt like another nail in the coffin my life was slowly building. Instead, I said, "You think you have all the power here." He smiled, slow and infuriating. "I know I don't. That's why you're interesting." I don't remember who moved first. One moment we were arguing, voices rising like heat. The next his mouth was on mine, and my hands were in his hair, and the anger twisted into something reckless and bright. I kissed him like I wanted to win, like if I stopped, I'd start screaming again. He tasted like smoke and oranges, like every bad idea I'd ever had. Somewhere in the mirrors, shadows stirred. The mark under my collarbone burned hot, as if it had been waiting for this, for him. "Careful, sunshine," he murmured against my mouth. "Playing with fire never ends clean." "Then burn," I said, and pulled him closer. The loft felt alive, the candles flaring higher, the rain slamming harder. Against the glass, the mirrors swallowing our reflections whole. I told myself it was protest, punishment, proof that I wasn't scared of him. That was a lie so thin it snapped the moment his hand slid to the small of my back, and the rest of the world. Narrowed to his heat, his mouth, his voice low in my ear saying my name like it was something dangerous. Later, the room smelled like smoke and rain. My pulse hadn't slowed. Neither had the mark's glow. Silver bright now, hot enough to feel through fabric. "That," Kai said, half laughing, half breathless, "is going to get attention." I sat up, shoving my hair out of my face. "What does that mean?" "Means the collectors will come faster." He stretched like a cat. "Power attracts power. Or monsters," I muttered. "Same thing," he said, grinning. The door slammed open. Liam stood there, rain dripping from his coat, eyes taking in everything, the candles, the mirrors, me on the edge of the piano bench with Kai standing far too close. His jaw clenched. "What?" he said evenly. "Did you just do?" "Nothing you need to sermonize about," Kai drawled. The mark throbbed under my skin. Outside, in the streetlight glow, I saw shapes gathering, thin flickering things with red eyes watching from the rain. Liam saw them too. "It's worse now," he snapped. "You've made her a beacon." "She made her own choices," Kai said lightly, though his eyes had gone sharp. Liam turned to me. "Break the contract, Eliza. Tonight. Before this spreads any further." I crossed my arms to hide the mark's glow. My voice shook but held. "No." His eyes softened for half a second, something like regret flickering there, then hardened again. "You have no idea what's coming for you." Kai leaned against the piano, smirking like the world wasn't tilting toward chaos. "Oh, let her find out. She hates spoilers." The wind outside howled. The shadows pressed closer. And for the first time I wasn't sure if Liam or Kai was the bigger danger. The rain didn't stop all night. It came down in hard, slanted sheets that turned the streets into black rivers and made every shadow look like it was hiding teeth. By the time I left Kai's loft, the glow under my collarbone had cooled, from a burn to a steady, sullen throb, like the mark itself was sulking. Liam was waiting at the corner. He didn't look at me, just said, "You're coming with me." "Wow," I said. "Romantic. Not a date," he muttered, walking fast. "You want to keep breathing? Move." I followed because the night felt wrong, like the air was too thick, like something was watching from the alleys. We ended up at the port, where warehouses hunched against the fog like guilty giants. The smell of rust and salt and something older clung to everything. Liam led me inside one of the storage buildings, flashlight beam cutting through the dark. "Why here?" I asked, hugging my jacket closer. "Open space," he said. "Fewer places for them to crawl out of." "Them?" That's when the first one appeared. It slid out of the shadows near the ceiling. Long arms, long legs, head tilting in a way that suggested it had too many joints. Its eyes burned red through the dark. Another one crawled along the wall behind it, moving upside down like gravity was optional. The mark under my skin flared hot, and every creature in the room turned toward me at once. "Oh," I whispered. "Perfect." The first one dropped to the floor. Its hands were wrong, too many fingers, too sharp. Liam pulled a curved blade from under his coat. "Stay behind me." I didn't argue. The creatures lunged. Liam moved fast, blade flashing in the dark, cutting through the first thing's arm in a spray of shadowy smoke. The second one hit it hard enough to slam him into a crate. He stabbed it in the chest anyway, jaw tight, breath harsh. But there were more, sliding out of the corners, eyes multiplying in the dark, drawn to the mark. Glow pulsing through my shirt like a lighthouse calling to shipwrecks. Run! Liam barked. I stumbled back, heart hammering, as another creature knocked him to the floor. He sliced upward, caught it under the jaw, but one claw raked his shoulder deep enough to leave a line of red. I grabbed the nearest piece of pipe and swung like my life depended on it, which, judging by the teeth coming at me, it did. The pipe connected with something's head. It shrieked, a sound like metal screaming, and dissolved into smoke. Liam pushed himself up, bleeding, eyes hard. They won't stop. Not while you're lit up like that. Another creature crawled over the rafters. He hurled a knife straight through its skull without looking. Breathing hard, he said. I watched a friend carry the same mark, thought he could handle it, thought it was a gift. He kicked a twitching shadow off his blade. I buried him 6 days later. The words hit harder than the claws had. My hands shook around the pipe. For the first time since Kai gave me this so-called second chance, the whole thing stopped, feeling like a dark fairy tale with loopholes, and started feeling like a countdown. The remaining creatures froze all at once, heads snapping toward the doorway. Kai stood there, rain dripping from his hair, eyes burning gold. He took in the scene, the smoke, the blood, Liam wiping his blade on his coat, and his jaw tightened. His gaze cut to me. You went hunting with him? I opened my mouth, but the look on his face made the words die in my throat. For once, Kai didn't look amused. He looked like the night itself had teeth. Liam bled through his coat all the way back from the warehouse. He insisted he could handle it, that the cut was just a scratch, but his face had gone the color of bad milk. I didn't even think before I whispered it inside my head. I want him to be okay. I want him healed. The mark under my collarbone flared so hot I nearly dropped him. By the time we reached my friend Sarah's apartment, closer than a hospital, Liam's shoulder was already knitting itself back together under the torn fabric. His breath evened out. Color returned to his face. Sarah's eyes went wide when she saw the blood on both of us. Eliza, what the hell? He's fine, I said quickly, propping him on the couch. It's fine. I just need... But I didn't get to finish, because Liam pulled his coat aside, and there was nothing but a faint scar where claws had torn him open minutes ago. Sarah stared. What is that? I can explain, I lied. Please do, she snapped. Her voice had that brittle edge she got when she was 2 seconds from slamming doors. I opened my mouth, but what was I supposed to say? Hey, I made a deal with a demon, and now reality glitches whenever I panic? Sarah folded her arms. Eliza, people don't just heal like that. What are you mixed up in? Nothing, I said too fast. It's complicated. Her eyes flicked to the faint glow under my collarbone. You look like you joined a cult. That stung more than it should have. It's not, Sarah, you have to trust me. Trust you? She laughed, sharp and humorless. You vanish for days, show up covered in blood with some guy I've never met, and now you're glowing? You sound insane. I saved him, I shouted before I could stop myself. Her face closed off completely. Maybe you need help. Real help. Something in my chest went cold. This was Sarah, the one person who stuck through bad breakups, job disasters, all of it. And now she was looking at me like I was a stranger on her doorstep. I couldn't find words big enough to stop the space growing between us. I left before she could tell me not to come back. The streets were empty. The rain finally slowed to a mean drizzle. My hands shook the whole walk to Kai's loft. I didn't even knock, just shoved the door open like the building owed me refuge. Kai looked up from the piano where he was pretending to play something romantic and failing. His usual smirk faltered when he saw my face. What happened? I can't keep it together, I said. It came out cracked. He studied me for half a second, then blew out the candles with a wave of his hand until only the fire in the grate lit the room. Come here, he said softly. I did. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe the whole point of tonight was learning I was terrible at self-preservation. But the moment his arms closed around me, everything I'd been holding, back, fear, anger, grief, crashed hard enough to steal my breath. This isn't fixing anything, I muttered against his shoulder. Wasn't offering to fix it, he murmured. Just offering Somewhere between the heat of the fire and the rough edge in his voice, the fight drained out of me. This time there was no protest, no pretending I was proving anything. Just need, sharp and simple, like the world was burning down and he was the only solid thing left. His mouth was warm, his hands steady, and for a little while the panic quieted under his touch. Afterward, I sat with the blanket around my shoulders, watching the mark's glow flare brighter than ever. Kai leaned against the window, watching the rain like it owed him answers. "It's growing too fast," I whispered. He didn't look at me. "Yeah." I pressed my hand over the heat under my skin, panic curling low in my gut. Because for the first time, I realized the mark wasn't just changing my life. It was eating it. The abandoned temple sat at the edge of the city like a broken tooth, half swallowed by ivy and fog. Its stained glass windows had long since shattered, leaving empty arches for the wind to whisper through. Runes crawled across the floor in languages I didn't know, and mirrors lined the walls. Cracked but still faintly glowing, as if they remembered prayers no one said anymore. Liam had brought me here without explaining why. His jaw was tight, his coat still damp from the rain. I should have noticed the way his hand hovered near the sword strapped to his back. But I was too busy shivering under the weight of the mark. It hadn't stopped burning since the night with Kai. "Wait here," Liam said, voice clipped. "Why?" He didn't answer because the doors creaked open behind us and Kai strolled in like he owned the place. The torchlight caught on his coat, his eyes glinting gold. "Meeting in secret?" He drawled. "I'm touched." Liam didn't waste words. He drew the sword in one smooth motion, steel flashing. Kai sighed. Always so dramatic. The next second, Liam swung for his head. Kai stepped back, fast but unhurried, as the blade slammed into the stone floor where he'd been standing. Sparks leapt up, skittering across the runes. "Oh good," Kai said lightly. "You brought the sharp toy." "This ends tonight," Liam snapped. He slashed again, forcing Kai toward the center of the temple. "The mark is killing her, and you're letting it." Kai caught the next swing with a flick of his hand. Magic flared, blue fire wrapping the blade, holding it mid-air like the sword had hit a wall of ice. "Correction," Kai said calmly. "I'm managing it." "You call this managing?" I shouted. "Because it feels a lot like dying." Neither of them looked at me. Liam shoved against the magic wall. Kai let it drop at the last second, sending Liam stumbling forward before the sword whistled toward his ribs. Kai vanished in a burst of smoke and reappeared behind him. "Careful," Kai murmured. "You almost scratched the coat." Liam spun, fury in every line of him. He swung again. Faster, angrier. Kai blocked with sparks of fire that smelled like burned sugar. Steel rang against stone, against magic, against the air itself. The mirrors rattled in their frames. "Stop it." My voice cracked across the chaos. Neither man listened. "Of course you like him," Liam snarled, slashing high. "Demons always take what they want." Kai parried lazily, eyes flicking toward me for half a second. "She's not a thing to be taken, Hunter. Maybe that's your problem." The sword caught Kai's shoulder. He hissed, just once, before fire licked across the wound and sealed it shut. That finally made me move. I stepped between them, palms out, heart hammering. "Enough." My voice echoed off the stone. "I can't do this anymore." Liam froze, chest heaving. Kai's eyes burned gold in the dim light. I swallowed hard. "I love him," I said, the words tasting like iron. "But I'm not dying for this mark." Silence rang louder than the fight ever had. Liam lowered his sword slowly. His face was carved from anger and something heavier. "There's a ritual," he said finally. "Old magic. It can rewrite the contract, burn the mark out of you." My breath caught. "Then let's do it." His eyes flicked to Kai. "It might kill him." The words slammed into the space between us. Kai tilted his head, smiling faintly like the idea didn't bother him at all. But his eyes, just for a second, looked at me like it did. The mirrors shivered along the walls, reflecting all three of us. And for the first time, I wondered who we'd even be when this ended. The storm hit the old church like it wanted in. Wind howled through the shattered windows, rain carving paths down the broken stone walls. The runes on the floor glowed faint red under the lightning, slick with water and streaks of blood from the hunters already down. And in the center of it all, The mark under my skin burned like it wanted to crawl out and join the chaos. Demons poured through the doors, shadows with teeth and eyes like furnace coals. Hunters fought them with blades and silver fire, but there were too many, always too many. Kai stood beside me, coat torn, face streaked with something darker than rain. For the first time since I'd met him, he wasn't smiling. "You still have time to run," he said softly. I shook my head, knuckles white on the dagger Liam had shoved into my hand. "I'm not leaving." His eyes flicked to the mark pulsing at my collarbone. "They want you. All of this," he gestured at the storm, the demons, the blood. "Because of that. Give them the mark, give them you, and they'll stop coming." Lightning cracked through the sky. A demon lunged for us. Kai threw out his hand and fire ripped across the floor, splitting the creature in two before it reached me. "Do it then," I shouted over the thunder. "Take it. Take me." His head snapped toward me. For the first time, I saw something like fear in his eyes. "No," he said. Another wave of demons crashed through the windows like a tide of smoke and claws. Liam and the hunters fought them back, steel ringing against teeth, but it was clear they were losing ground. Kai grabbed my shoulders. His hands were warm even through the rain. "You don't understand. If you give them what they want, you're gone. No coming back. And if I don't?" He glanced at the doors, bowing under the weight of more creatures. "Then everyone is..." The mark burned hotter, feeding on my panic, my anger, my love for him twisting, with everything else until it felt like my chest might split open. "I can't let this be on me," I whispered. Kai's jaw tightened. He looked at me like he was memorizing something. Then he said, "You won't have to." Before I could ask what he meant, he stepped into the center of the runes. The demons froze. The hunters stopped swinging. Even the storm seemed to hold its breath. Kai raised his hand and fire crawled up his arm, brighter than the lightning, brighter than the runes. "Kai," I said, my voice breaking. "Don't." He smiled then, small and real and nothing like his usual grin. "Told you I hate spoilers." The fire spread across the runes, devouring the lines, the sigils, the contract itself. The mark under my skin seared once, so bright I screamed, then ripped free like something alive, twisting through the air toward him. He caught it in his hand, closed his fist, and shattered it. Light exploded through the church, a shockwave that sent demons shrieking back into the dark, slammed hunters against the walls, shattered what little glass was left in the windows. When it cleared, the mark was gone. My skin was bare. And Kai was nowhere. The runes on the floor smoked. The hunters staggered to their feet. Liam lowered his sword slowly, rain running off his hair into his eyes. I stood in the center of the ruin, chest heaving, heart clawing at my ribs like it wanted out. The doors hung open. The storm began to fade. But Kai didn't come back. I turned in a slow circle, searching the shadows, the cracked mirrors, the empty doorways. "Kai?" My voice cracked. Nothing. The hunters began to leave one by one, silent as the grave. Liam touched my shoulder once, awkward, almost gentle, then walked out into the rain. I stayed until the candles guttered out and the wind blew cold through the ruined church. Until I realized he wasn't walking back through those doors. Until I realized he might have actually been the hero in the end. Morning came quietly, like the city had decided to give me a break. For the first time in what felt like years, sunlight pushed through. My apartment windows without flickering bulbs or rattling glass. No storm, no shadows with red eyes, no whispers in the mirrors. And no mark. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, fingers brushing the skin where it used to burn. Bare. Smooth. Ordinary. I half expected it to flare back to life just to laugh at me. It didn't. For one terrifying moment, I thought maybe none of it had been real. That the church, the demons, the firestorm of magic had ended not with victory but with me losing my mind. Then I heard the knock. I opened the door and froze. "Kai," I breathed. He leaned against the doorframe like he hadn't just vanished from existence. His coat was gone, shirt sleeves rolled up, hair a little longer than I remembered. His eyes still caught the light like coins, but softer now, like the gold had cooled. "Miss me?" he asked, voice carrying that familiar curve of sarcasm, but quieter somehow. I reached out before I could stop myself, fingers brushing his arm. "Warm, solid, real. You're back," I whispered. "Not quite the same," he said. But yes. Still devastatingly handsome, though, so there's that. I laughed, choked, shoved him inside before the neighbors could see me crying at my own doorway. We didn't talk much after that. It wasn't the frantic, reckless thing it had been before, when the mark burned and the world felt like it was ending. This time there was no protest, no anger twisted up with want. Just relief, sharp and sweet. And the strange warmth of having him here, alive. Hands steady on my skin like he was memorizing me all over again. At one point he kissed the corner of my mouth and murmured, "Still trouble, sunshine?" "And you're still full of yourself," I muttered against his neck. He laughed into my hair, and for the first time in days the sound didn't hurt. By afternoon we were in the park of all places, sitting on a bench, like people who didn't know anything about demons or magic contracts. The trees dripped last night's rain. Children ran past with kites, and Kai kept feeding pieces of his sandwich to a very determined squirrel. "Careful," I said. "That thing's going to follow you home." He smirked. "Let it." "I'm good with strays." I elbowed him. He didn't deny it. We found Liam at the cafe near my office. He looked tired but intact, coat clean, no more swords hidden under it. When he saw Kai, one eyebrow lifted like he wasn't sure whether to reach for a weapon or a drink menu. "You're alive," Liam said finally. "Disappointed?" Kai asked, leaning back in his chair. "Surprised," Liam said. He looked at me then, and for the first time since we met, there was the ghost of a smile on his face. "You really do like trouble, Eliza." I raised my coffee in a mock toast. "Guess so." Kai draped an arm along the back of my chair, smirking like the king of bad ideas. Liam shook his head, muttering something about lost causes before leaving us to the sunlight and the smell of coffee. For the first time since this all began, the world felt still. No mark, no storm, no monsters in the dark. Just me, Kai, and the ridiculous hope that maybe second chances weren't a curse after all.